Good morning,
Hap,
Tracy Currington. How you doing this
good
morning?
morning. I'm probably like the majority of people at this time of year. The kind of the head congestion and stuff like that, and non medicines. You as well, my friend.
You know it, man. This
Yes.
weather's been so freaking weird. I'm in Minnesota. I have no snow on the ground. It's 55 degrees and it's killing my sinuses. But yeah, good
Ah,
day.
well, happy February to you, Paul.
Oh, it's February Fool's Day,
It,
February
it is
1st.
it is the first, and even though we're in a leap year, still February is the
Leap.
shortest month of the year.
That is correct, as
Yeah.
far as I know.
So I got I want you to fill in the blank. The old statement that says, if it ain't broke, don't
Throw it out.
okay, don't fix it. Don't fix it.
Oh,
That's the one that I've always heard. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't address something that, like, leave those sleeping dogs, let them lie, and don't create an issue where there wasn't one before or whatever. And so I thought this would be a great opportunity when we're thinking about the compression of time in the month of February. Even though we have a leap year and we're in that month, it's still the shortest month. And just compressing time, understanding, like, the deadlines are going to come at least a day sooner than what they ever were. And 24-hour period is a long length of time. I've been thinking this year the about how short, just like, if you waste just 5 days of the year, how much you've actually wasted in percentage as far as how many days there are in a year. And so we've gone through the first 31 days of the year. We've got a short month on us. And so I was just thinking about this subject that I thought could go any number of ways, about knowing when it's time to upgrade, knowing when it's time
up.
to get better, to move on from something that is maybe not serving you anymore. So what are your thoughts? Knowing when to upgrade. It can go anywhere.
Well, I guess I have a lot of questions, as I usually do. Upgrade what? Are we upgrading software? Upgrading people? Upgrading equipment? What are we breaking? What's broken? What's upgraded? I think you know. We talk about this a lot. We talk about business process, and we talk about our processes. And if you put great people in a bad process, you just magnify the negative outcome. If
Oh, wait, that's
you
a that's a
what
great
what
statement, Paul. That's a great
what
statement, Paul. You got to say that again. Say that slower. That was awesome. Drop that gold again.
Okay, so if you put
Great
great
people.
people to a bad process, you just magnify the negative outcome. So you got a bunch of hard chargers working on a broken process, or a
Hmm.
process that doesn't work. My favorite statement to go with it, if it isn't broken, don't fix it, is we've been doing it that way for 20 years.
Oh,
Why should we change? How's that?
mhm.
That's my favorite as I
So
come into it.
true. So, Paul,
Yeah.
when you asked, like, what are we upgrading, and the processes that could be broken, I was thinking, like, like, what are we talking about? Equipment? We're talking about technology. We're talking about people, or machinery. This happens across it spans, like, nonprofit. I mean, I know in the ministry there are guys that are in pastoral ministry that they're operating in the 21st century with, like, a 1960s, 1970s playbook. And I was reading just this morning, Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker talked about how that every 100 years in human society, there's this huge transformation. And he said what happens is the first 3 to 4 decades, you can feel this is happening. Like, it's kind of like indoor plumbing. We were taking the Sears and Roebuck catalog out to the telephone booth in the backyard with a half-shaped moon in it, and we went for reading, but for wiping maybe. And now that we had this indoor plumbing, and it transformed how life is done in homes today and how homes are built. Or 1994, 1995, we got this internet starts to push out, and now look at us today. What will be transformed coming up? And I think there's I know from ministry experience that there's a lot of guys that are very, very slow to ever change, and they even like to call themselves, like, oh, well, I'm old fashioned.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, honestly, there's a lot to unpack there, right? You have to think about, so what is the root cause of that, and
Mm,
I would argue that the amount of work it takes to make the change
mm.
doesn't immediately resonate with the result of the change.
Ah, I haven't seen enough value to make
So,
a decision.
well, I don't, well, and it's not a guaranteed value. It's a risk, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the subconscious mind goes into, I've been doing it for 20 years. It's going to take me 6 months of hardship to make this change. And is it really going to have that much of a different
Mm.
outcome than what I'm doing currently?
Ah, so
And
good.
tech was a lot like that, right? Because there was a, over the past 20 years, we could be a lot further along than we are from a business standpoint in a lot of businesses if we would have embraced the change early. And there was a lot of trouble, right? The software breaks, software, we didn't
Mhm.
know exactly what we were doing. We didn't, the coding wasn't great. It's a continuous improvement idea where it's not perfect when we first start out, and we're kind of figuring it out along the way, which takes a lot of belief in the outcome going forward. So there's, changes kind of interesting. I don't, you know, let's, if it's not broke, don't fix it, gives the idea that something's broken. Something doesn't have to be broken, but it can be inefficient, right?
Mhm. Yep.
So, and this kind of gets back to the kind of the origin of the conversation, is that, yeah, if it's not broken, don't fix it, but can we make it run better?
Yeah.
Can we take a
Right.
look at the processes? Has something changed in the environment or in the market or whatever that lends itself to changing a piece of that process, or equipment or software, that's going to make us more efficient and get the most value out of every dollar that we're spending on said
Hmm.
process, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then,
Yeah, what do you think?
yeah, absolutely. So I love the idea of, of efficiency, and then it's kissing cousin effectiveness, where you think if it ain't broke, not only can you make it better, but if it ain't broke, does it even serve us anymore? I think that I read an article this last week that talked about um, the this big, huge push right now for the storage facilities. Like, there's very little out, as far as overhead. I mean, like, you just basically come in, you pick up the checks that people throw into the little drop box because they got their key to their little thing. It's 40, 20 by 40, whatever it is, whatever size it is. But there's a big, big push because people don't have enough room in their garages anymore to park their cars because they got all this stuff in there that's not broke, but really a Peloton was not never meant to hang your clothes on. So it's like, so it's not broke, but it's not serving them. Their attics are filled with stuff that they don't even look at anymore. Their sheds can't even park their garage or their lawnmower in it. And so then they get this other. I met a guy, and he said, I was sharing this in a group coaching session, and he said, "Oh, Tracy, I've got a storage shed, and I haven't been in that storage shed in 2 years."
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so it's not
So
broken, but it's not even serving them anymore. It's not even
well,
effective.
I didn't know we were going to go into mindset, but I think that's a mindset thing. And I don't mean to be judgmental, but if I buy a piece of equipment and I don't use it, then I need to sell it.
Mhm.
To pay for that equipment over and over and over and over again by putting it in a paid storage unit when I own
Yeah,
a house and a garage. If it can't fit in what I own, it's out of here,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Recently, Paul, I was.
A few years ago, my mother passed away, rest her soul, and
Mhm.
everything happened so fast that we had to immediately. I didn't have room in the garage for her stuff,
Right.
and we did end up getting a storage unit to uh, to store her stuff. And like,
Mhm.
then it was this nagging thing at me. It was like, get that crap out of storage, because now I'm paying for stuff that I inherited that I intend on getting rid of. That now I'm paying for in
Yeah.
storage,
Hmm.
driving me
Yeah.
insane. Yeah. So and I managed to get it out of there as quickly as possible. But at the end of the day, getting back to the point is, it's looking at the processes that really kind of dictate if you need an upgrade in something.
Hmm.
Is there are you serving the best that you can serve based on what you have? So let's use software for the example,
Yeah.
because it's hard to visualize without something. If and this goes to, if I own a software company and I'm serving clients, and I do a survey with those clients to find out what features, what functions, what are they using, and then one of the questions is there something that I can put better that's going to better serve you? And
Yeah.
if I have 60% of my clients say we need this particular feature, then obviously I'm going to upgrade the software to deliver that feature so I can better serve my clients.
Yeah.
Uh, Going back to serving your employees, same idea. What's our process? Is it efficient? Is it effective? I need to review this every
Hmm.
6 months at a minimum.
Yeah.
Are we best serving our customers? What's going on? Or the other thing is, hopefully we're growing. At what point is this software not going to cut it? Right? At what point is this equipment not going to cut it? We have a term back in the hardware industry called predictive obsolescence.
Mm.
I'm going to use that term again. Predictive obsolescence. Right?
Hmm.
There is a time in the future that this piece of equipment is going to be obsolete. I want to
Yep.
be able to predict that time so that I can do the planned upgrade, absorb the resource cost, the cash cost, and have planned for it to forklift upgrade that particular piece of equipment. So
Mm.
it falls into your strategic plan for your company, but also the strategic plan for your infrastructure to support that strategic plan for your company.
Yeah. I love truths like we're talking about today because they transcend. I mean, this is real. This is real life. This is real business. You're talking about software upgrades. I mean, like how often your cell phone. I mean, it's got a software in it that has to upgrade periodically. I've got T-Mobile carrier, and they'll say hey, it's in a new install. We got to whatever they're going to do. You can do it now or you can do it later, but you got 4 tries, and then we're going to do it anyway. So it's going to happen. And I was just thinking about so if it ain't broke could I make it better? If it ain't broke, is it even serving me? And this one, if it ain't broke, when will it break? And I loved how you said review it every 6 months. I wonder, could that apply beyond software? Could it apply in, I don't know, a house, the relationship you have with your team members, like considering people, like not as far as like I don't view people as broken as if I need to fix them, but I'm looking at like maybe they're filling a position, and if something doesn't change in the next couple of months, that person or the business is going to suffer because that person is in the wrong seat or something like that. What do you think about that? About as far as people being in the wrong place, as a leader, anticipating, I think we're going to have a problem here in the future if I don't address it now.
Well, do I dare compare people to software in this podcast?
I like those shows.
uh,
There are some that say your people are your greatest asset. And that's that. When I think of software, I think of an asset. I think a computer is an asset, a car is an asset, but I think of people as an advantage. Like, if I got the right people on my team, I'm going to have an advantage over you and your team because I got better quality people. So there's an advantage there. So Yeah, I get it. I don't want to think of people
No,
as bad.
I was being kind of funny, kind of funny, kind of funny.
But it was. But it's so true. I mean, like that's satire. I mean, there was some truth in that. That is true. I'm glad you brought that.
The fact of the matter is, from a serious perspective, I look at the continuous improvement model of software, right? And from its general idea, and the same idea needs to go with your people, right?
Yeah,
We want to be in
sure.
continuous improvement. We want to provide them opportunities to train, to get better, to master their craft. Um, and so having a training and improvement process in your company is key. I mean, uh, people get bored, right? They want to learn, hopefully, they want to learn new things
Right.
and they want to learn how to better themselves. So, as serving leaders, we need to provide them gateways for improvement, for advancement.
Mhm.
Um, let them get better at their craft. I know one of the things I've always believed is um, some employees are there not for a lifetime, but for a time. There
Yeah.
is a time if you're a small business owner that your employees are going to outgrow you. There's a mentality out there that says I'm going to keep this employee forever, and I'm going to keep them in their spot, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure they're locked in. And
Yeah.
then there's a mentality out there is that I'm going to help this person because I care about them as a person grow.
Hmm.
And at some point, they're going to grow beyond the capabilities that I can offer in this company.
Oh, that's so good.
And I am going to grow them beyond the capabilities of this company. And
Hmm.
then I'm going to help them find their next opportunity.
Yeah.
And those are the leaders that and I always go back to the very first it would be my second job, but I had a boss. Her name was I love saying this out loud. Her name was Gypsy Barbado.
Hmm. Heard of this lady
Gypsy.
before? It's,
Yeah. um and it was just a drive-in restaurant, and her her mission was to help teenagers get their first idea of what work is like and become
Mhm.
successful at it so they can move on and go to college. And everybody who ever worked for Gypsy was successful in life because all she did was train us. She
Mhm.
trained us about money. She trained us about how to run a business. She was open and clear about everything. And she knew that when we turned 18 or 19, that we were going to not be cooks and not be car hops, but we were going to go out and do something else with our life. She was the gateway for me and for everybody else who worked for her to having a real business and an entrepreneurial mindset at that
Mhm.
age. Her idea was not to lock us in being a prep cook or a cook, short order cook,
Yeah.
till we retired at 65. Her idea was she knew that we were going to outgrow her business, and her mentality was to grow us way beyond her business before she let us walk out the door.
Mhm.
So to
I,
her, I say cheers, because that's
absolutely.
that's the type of leader I endeavor to be.
I think there's a level of security. Like we were talking on this point of continuous improvement, like a leader has to be secure in who they are and what their real, you said her mission was. Like for you to know her mission implies that she knew even better what her mission was, that she's putting people on the on ramp to life. And you start out slow and you got to merge into life, as in traffic. But I think it's a
Yeah,
secure leader that says, like, oh, hey, listen, I got to put my 2 weeks notice in. I'm going over to college, or I'm going to da da da, whatever it is. And that leader not to feel like, oh, they're leaving me. I can't believe they're leaving me. Like an insecure person, like, like everybody's leaving me. And I've felt that before. Like leaders get mad when somebody leaves, or because it's going to put them out, or I mean, because it's more of a selfish type thing. What are your thoughts on that?
yeah. My thoughts are investment has ROI. And if you are investing in your employee, it's actually harder for the employee to leave you. I mean, you literally sometimes have to push them out the door. Let's look, you've grown beyond us. Okay, we've got some other guys coming up. You've grown beyond us. Let's get you in the right company with the right position at this point, because this company is only going to go so far. And that goes for a good portion of the small business out there. And then you have business where there's going to be opportunity to work up, into the C-suite or that, and be able to do that. So to grow that person either, up into the corporate world or out into the world of entrepreneurship, creates a relationship with your employees. That makes them hard. It's hard for them to leave you because you've invested so much in them. So they're there to help you further your mission. I kind of laugh to go back to that, as Gypsy had vision, mission, and values before they were ever buzzwords.
Yeah, that's great. Yes, well, we have one of our viewers asking, how important is continuous improvement for every servant leader? I think we're spot on. That's a great question for where we're at right now. Just thinking of, like, a servant leader is there. I'm the leader. I'm in a leadership position. I'm in a leadership role, but I'm the servant for the team. And maybe this job is no longer serving you. Just like you said, you've outgrown us. You're beyond. You have greater things than these that you're going to do. What about in the area of a so as you and I, we do coaching and obviously we do mentoring and consulting. When it's time for, like, you've taken that company as far as you can go, or as far as you can take it, or you've grown beyond that facility. I mean, it's hard for you to I know for me, it was hard for me to say, hey, maybe rates have changed, the monetary value has changed for me and my growth and the value that I offer, and I had to go to bigger and better things. And that was hard for me to say, we've come to an end. If we want to continue, we've got to level up. And that company not being able to level up and not being able to make the trip with us as we're going forward. And it brought it up when you said employees are not there for a lifetime, but for a time, or consultants, coaches not there for a lifetime, but for a time.
I want to, I want to frame that properly, because what's coming out of you is a lot of, I can't grow, I can't do this. That is not the case for any business. Okay. The creativity around growth. Gypsy was very specific. This was a lifestyle business for Gypsy. Okay. The thing in hindsight, being who I am today, if I was Gypsy's coach, I would have taken her a different way than she went. She wanted one location. It was a lifestyle business. Therefore, her vision was a small vision. It wasn't a large vision. Okay. So if I were coaching Gypsy today and the tables were turned, I would have asked the question, how do you plan on growing the business? Right? What's your next step? We've got this very successful location. It's kicking butt. Next question is, how do we replicate it? Right? That's not something she would want to do. She's like, I don't want it any more complicated than I have it now. So I don't want this to be a referendum on growing business, because it's not. There are some businesses that are lifestyle businesses that have no intention of growing beyond their geographical location. But there's absolutely opportunity to grow any business by expanding customer base in a few different ways. We just have to look at the business and we have to see what are the opportunities for growth. They may be adding a second location. They may be franchising. There's all kinds of opportunities to move that on. So I do not want this to become about, oh, I'm stuck. Because if you have a vision that's bigger than that lifestyle business, then there may be opportunities for your employees to grow within your business. That is not the staple. It just depends on your mindset as a leader, where you want to take the business, and are you open to doing these other things so that your business can continue growing. I'm
connecting on that. I'm working with a company right now, and that company just came to mind where they do not have. So when they had the pains 3 years ago, they had the pains. We've come in, we've worked through that. They don't have the pains anymore. Like, oh wow, this is great. I don't have any pains. And when you talked earlier about the root cause of not changing, you know, like I've got pain. Tracy, come in, help us take the pain away. I can do this. We're going to do this together, whatever. So we grow it and like, man, okay, I think we're done here, right? And then you talked about vision. Okay, now what? And that's where we're at with this company. We're now like, oh man, yeah, we don't have the people issues that we used to have. People are reliable now. We've proven to the community that we're here. The doors are going to be open. We're not closing down. We're not going anywhere. They're going to get great quality food and all that kind of stuff. You were talking about that. I wrote down these 5 things: that the risk involved in changing, the work involved in changing, the emotions involved in changing, the fear involved in changing, and the clunkiness involved in it. Because it's not going to be, the first draft is going to be crap, right? And like when you're changing. So I was just thinking through that, coming back to that vision, coming to our topic of today is knowing when it's time for an upgrade. There has to be some thought about vision. Where are we going to go to next? Just because it doesn't hurt right now, it's going to hurt later on if we're not adapting and have some kind of vision, something that we're shooting for. Are you tracking on that?
Yeah, I'm tracking. That's exactly right. And you know, the resource commitment to doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I would add the resources, right? It's money and time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The resources involved in changing. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's good. That's great content right there, Paul. I love that. So when is it time for an upgrade? When have you found, like, as for your life in business, what was the last upgrade that you had to commit to?
I just committed to one. I've taken on some product that we're going to be marketing for another company, which is a major commitment for me. So, you know, being retired 2 years ago, I've seemed to upgrade to not retired. How's that?
Yeah. Uh-huh. So every great leader that I've ever known that like went into retirement. I mean, I remember having a conversation with you, like, how much golf can you really play? How much skiing can you really do and still, you know, like be satisfied? There's diversions, distractions, and they're fun, they're enjoyable, but I couldn't see myself doing it every day unless it was for business. I was growing something. I was networking in that environment, and I was trying to bring something forward.
Yeah, unless I could turn golf into a job and you know, go pro, but I'm not that good. So
here, my friend.
I think the big thing is this: the status quo has to go, right? You can't be looking for status quo. You have to be looking for growth opportunities, and it's as a business owner, reducing risk means, it's interesting. I had a great conversation with a client yesterday because they are in a really interesting situation. It's a very large small business, and they only have 7 clients, and they are big clients,
Wow.
massive. And we got in the discussion about it. I said, you're in a very risky position. Okay, because if you think, let's just use round numbers. If each client was worth $1 million, if 1/7 of your client, you lose 1/7 of your clients, you lose $1 million per client. They've been in business for a long time, and they're in one of the riskiest positions you could be in. They have lots and lots of employees. They only have 7 clients, and they need to get more clients.
Oh, wow.
So they need to change from the standpoint of, you know, because it was that status quo thing. It's like, we're making big money here just off 7 clients. Why do we need to go, you know, get more, right?
Will it break?
So, right.
And then a lot of their employees are out of jobs because you just lost $1 million revenue.
Yeah. Boy, so right. So So you can't sit back and get comfortable. You can't be complacent. You have to figure out how you're going to continue growth, because continued growth reduces risk. The more clients you have, the less impact a loss of a single client has.
That's
The
a great
more,
statement.
you know, the more, you know, the more choices you have in your grocery store,
Mm-hmm.
the more people are going to buy of different choices, the more you're going to attract different choices. Diversification is the key to having a healthy business.
Mm. So continued growth reduces risk. I got a visual of like you're going up a going down escalator. The escalator stays at this like certain pace coming down, and if you can't continue to stay at a pace faster than the pushback, the resistance going back, you're going to end up back down at the bottom if you don't keep moving. And as a company, as
I would put that escalator to cliff, right? So,
oh yeah, so you get
because
the bottom.
when you start to fall, it becomes a free fall, because the it becomes this paralyzation, right? And the inability to make a decision or act, and then starts the free fall.
Mm. Excuse me. Okay. So what do we offer companies as far as like they know it's time. They know it's time to upgrade. Having that conversation, helping
Well,
them
so we
understand.
talked about reviewing processes, right?
Mhm.
So when you're reviewing processes, you have to ask yourself some questions. Excuse me. Is this process as efficient as it can be?
Mm.
If it's not, is this a people or training problem, or is this an equipment or support problem? Or if we identify a different way of doing things, so is it a process problem?
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the answers to those questions that you will find if you need to upgrade equipment, upgrade software, improve training, or change process.
Mm-hmm. So getting down to like we talked about earlier about the what is causing this thing not to function like it could be.
Yeah, I'll give it the root cause analysis is the term, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to do root cause analysis. And we have to step out of the business and over the business to see it. You have to see your business from a 30,000-foot view.
Yeah.
You cannot be in the weeds and see processes, broken processes.
Mm-hmm. And in a lot of the companies that I work with, they are, maybe it's one general manager working on two separate locations, two teams, because this famine of leadership in their industry has made them, hey, one GM left a store and now you got something over there and you got something over here, and there's only one of them to go around. They're dealing with some talent issues, and so they're constantly in the weeds, and they can't see what's broken because they're too far in it. They're in the business and not on the business. Their regional director or their business owner, the franchise owner, is not as connected as they could be because they're just, hey, they're still getting their check, but it's not as good of a business as it could be. And those have been some struggling conversations to get them to see that, to where they can make a move that they can't get past, like, we're not making much money now. We can't invest in a third party to come in and help us out with this. And so they just keep on going, plummeting down and down and down until they close
The
the door.
cliff.
Yeah.
Yep. The paralyzation and the cliff, right? That's exactly what happens. They become paralyzed. They constrict.
Mm-hmm.
They fire their sales force. It's the first place they go is the sales guys.
Yeah.
So you cut your own revenue throat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fear.
And
that's what fear does.
So, across, it transcends it doesn't matter the industry. When things get tough, we go to cut off our life support. Like what's feeding us, like this, like you said in the sales, for a church ministry, going out, we call it an outreach ministry. We have an outreach. We exist to reach out. If we can live the life that we should be living, we exist to reach out into the community and bring more people in. And as soon as a crisis happens, let's not go out anymore. It's like why would you not want to do that? Why would you not go out for more customers, parishioners, church members? Why would you not go out, for more converts or whatever the story is? And it's an evangelistic approach, but that's what I see even those in the ministry that they do. They that's the life support. That's why we really exist in the first place. Let's stop doing that. And it's not only it's counterproductive, even though they think it's counterintuitive.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You cannot cut off your it's like your car breaks down, so you cut the gas tank off of it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's gonna help. That's gonna help it run.
Sure it will. So what will be the points that need to be driven home from this episode for our viewers about knowing when it's time for an upgrade? What are your thoughts as far as like a good, healthy takeaway for people that are viewing this episode?
So I would say that probably the biggest thing you can do is take a couple hours a week and map out your entire organization. How every process works, right? From sales to delivery. And then take a look at that and see, is it the most efficient it can be? Are all the pieces there to make it efficient? Next question is, what's not automated that could be, right? And then as you're looking at that and you come out with those gaps, how are you going to fill them? What piece of software is going to fill that gap? What can be automated to fill that gap and become more efficient? What you end up at the end of the day is less costly business. So to the point of, when you're in constrictive times, you can cut costs by improving processes and then, find more ways to create revenue. And ultimately is once you do it once, then you can review it every 6 months and see if the environment's changed, see if the regulational structures change, where you have to change the process because of some regulation that came down from the state or federal government. Whether you need to change, maybe if you're a manufacturer, maybe you can't get this part in China anymore and you're going to have to source it out of Africa. And how are you going to change that process to work? So you have to look at the business as a whole. And again, looking from an equipment standpoint is just, when is this going to not work anymore? When is technology going to become so much better in this particular fashion that it's going to be more efficient, or the piece is not going to be broken or not going to work anymore? Like, there's a lifespan on every piece of equipment. What is that average lifespan? So when can I predict it's going to go bad? Yeah. And not interrupt my business processes because we're reacting to a failure. We're actually well planned out how we're going to deal with that failure. And that magnifies itself as the organizations are bigger, right?
I was just thinking when you're saying that, both of us right now are probably operating at about 80%. Just sometimes, if you think of an organization as an organism, our bodies being an organism, like there's some things like, maybe right now, hey, I'm hungry. Right now, man, I got a headache. I'm also congested. I got this scratchy throat, I got these things. When I was thinking about a business, you're going through that, I was thinking, like, what a great question. What hurts the most right now? Like, everything hurts. Well, everything can't hurt. If everything hurts at the same level, then if everything's important, nothing's important, right? If everything's hurting at the same level, everything can't hurt at the same level. Well, and so like right now, I got this headache, I got this congestion. Well, I could take this antibiotic or the steroid for the congestion. It might satisfy the headache also. It won't satisfy the hunger, But the easiest thing to do, instead of going to the doctor and paying, a $75 copay or $50 copay with my insurance, and then getting the medicine that I need, making the trip, save the time and everything, I think I'm just going to go eat a bowl of cereal for breakfast. And that way it'll satisfy the hunger. At least I won't have the hunger anymore. And we opt for the easiest thing first. And that's not the thing that hurts the worst. What hurts the worst is, man, this headache. I got to do something about this headache. It's the one that manifests the most. Do you find that some companies work on the thing that is the easiest to solve rather than the thing that's really going to solve everything else?
Yeah, and I would argue that you're trying to treat all the symptoms and you don't know what the root cause is.
Yeah.
Right? So the same cause can have a lot of symptoms, and this is true for business too. Mm-hmm. It's what is the root cause, and that is effectively suffering through some of the symptoms to find out what's causing it, mm-hmm. and then taking care of the root cause will eliminate multiple symptoms.
Awesome, love it. Well, I love this topic. Because it transcends everybody. I mean, you're supposed to be moving. I want to move forward. And as I move forward, I'm not going to be the same person as I move forward, because I'm going to be upgraded. I am not the same person I was on the last episode.
Well, I'll conclude today by using a good Navy, a good Navy way of thinking about it.
All right.
You can't steer the ship from the engine room. So get the hell out of the engine room, get in the pilot house, see where the ship's going, and then make sure everything's running optimally so you can move the ship forward.
Yep. Great visual.
So, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead.
Love it. Thank you guys for joining us today on Pivot Point Live. Paul, I always enjoy. I've got all kinds of notes. Always get. I love these. I get served on these just as well as you, the viewer.
It's great as usual. Thanks, Tracy. I'll see you next Thursday.
I look forward to it, Paul.